Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, the Genetics Institute, dropping in on you this morning. I want to talk to you about the refusal to be a failure. Um, and I want to talk to you about it first by defining what I mean when I say I refuse to be a failure, and then talking about certain principles that are associated with success and how that works. But first, hey, what's up, little bro? First, I want to remind everybody, look, we released book number 20, Critical Mass, The Phenomenon of Next Level Living in June. We're still pushing right now. Look, if you haven't gotten this book, man, it's doing a lot better than we anticipated, which has created actually a few growing pains, but we finally worked out the kinks. If you want to look inside the mind of a madman, if you want to see what I do on a daily basis when I work with my clients and literally go through the processes that I understand, and I'm currently evolving. So I'll be revising this book probably in a year, just off of the revolutions uh, that are going on in my industry, but also in the evolution of my own thinking, which is something I demand of everybody I work with. You cannot be locked in or dogmatic about anything. But if you have not gotten this book, go out and get it. The wonderful thing about it is when you order it directly from the organization, you literally save money because it's $7 plus shipping and handling, cheaper um, than it is at Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Sony Books, Kobo, and all of those other distributors where it's sold. So you literally get a signed copy for less than you would do if you just ordered and had it shipped. Even if you've got Amazon Prime, it's still cheaper to order it here. And that's the reason is it's more work for me, but it gives me a chance to connect to everybody that buys. Every message that I put in the book when I sign is unique and it's off of what I feel when I see the name and the purchase. And it's just my own process. But if you haven't gotten this book, go out and get this book now. If you're looking to improve your life in the area of your marriage, as in parenting, in your career, and starting a business, and growing your finances, and becoming more impactful in the world around you, and making your presence felt in any area, you want to read this book. Critical Mass in Nuclear Physics is the accumulation of all of the necessary components to create a specific and desired chemical or nuclear reaction. Critical mass in life is having all of the components necessary to achieve success at the level you desire to achieve it. And we talk about how you achieve critical mass in this book. So go out and get it. Also, if you're looking for someone to work with one-on-one, if you want to expedite the process, the link is in there. You can go in there and check out the different packages, or you can just email the organization and somebody on the support team will get back to you and explain the packages. And, I'm looking forward to working with as many of you guys as I can. With that being said, let's talk. In the title, you see it says, I refuse to be a failure. And what I want to clarify is there's a difference in failing and being a failure. Failure is inevitable. Failure is a part of the process of succeeding. You get to success by failing and learning, getting up and trying again. You get to success by understanding that there are going to be times you set a goal, you don't reach it. My mentor told me over 30 years ago now, wow, aging myself, over 30 years ago, my mentor told me, he said, you're going to be exceptional. He said, you're going to exceed me when it comes to business, finance, and everything else, because you have a desire and a willingness to fail forward. Most people will only make goals that they're comfortable with, but you literally set goals that almost guarantee you won't hit them in the time frame that you set, and you're okay with that because you're going after it full steam and you fail forward. What he was saying was, I aim big. There's a quote that I love to use that says, if the vision that you have for your life isn't so huge that it intimidates you, there's a good chance that it's insulting God. You were designed for greatness. You were designed to be exceptional. You were designed to produce the phenomenal. You were designed to stand out. And in order to do that, you've got to reach beyond the places and the things and what other people are doing. So when I talk about failure, I'm not talking about never failing. I'm talking about never identifying with a failure, never allowing failure to set in, never allowing failure to become how you identify yourself, how you look at life. You are going to get knocked down in life. You're going to get hit hard. Your job is to get back up and hit back. That's what's going to determine whether you're a failure or not. It's simple. Now, there are going to be steps you have to take. There are going to be strategies you have to create. There are going to be plans you're going to have to do. But at the end of the day, it's going to be determined by what you do when you get knocked down. I don't care what nobody says. It's not the planning. 80% of success is the psychology. When you have a psychology that says there's absolutely no distance I'm not willing to go to get what I want, you're going to get it. Because the psychology says you can't put anything in front of me that will stop me. I'm either going to get it or I'm going to die trying. And I'm good with either way, but the one thing I won't do is quit. When you make up in your mind that I'm going to get it or I'm going to die trying, you're going to get in the game. You're going to focus on the game. You're going to give it everything you got. You're going to swing for the fence. And you're going to go for it. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to take you to a real important principle. Because I talk about in book number 16, no, book number 15, no, 17. I'm getting confused. Book number 16, Miseducation of Black Youth. Book number 17, Your Mind is the Genesis of Your Destiny. And I talk about the importance of understanding how your thoughts are literally the seeds of your destiny and how you're constantly, with your efforts, planting seeds that produce a harvest. In other words, what you're thinking right now has, at some point in your future, a harvest. You're literally thinking. So that's why I always ask, what program are you running? Because see, your mind or your brain is a supercomputer. And what you engage every day, what you read, what you watch on television, what type of music you listen to, what type of talk you have constantly with yourself about who you are, what you can do, what you can't do, all of the beliefs you have, whether they're limiting or liberating. You have these beliefs inside of you, and these conversations come out of those beliefs, that these conversations you have with yourself about yourself come out of these beliefs that you have. And so I asked, what program are you running? Because see, your brain is a supercomputer, but your self-talk and all of the information you're downloading daily, that's the program you're running. So I always ask, what program are you running? What program are you running? What are you thinking on a daily basis? How are you talking on a daily basis? See, most of us talk our condition. We talk about where we're at. We talk about what we're going through. We talk about what we don't have. We don't talk our potential. We don't talk our possibilities. We don't talk our cans. We talk our don't haves. We talk our problems. And the thing is, what you focus on most is what you feel. And then once you begin to feel it, your body begins to talk to your brain and tell your brain that what it thought about this particular situation was true. And it reinforces the idea that I can't. It reinforces the idea that I'm broke. It reinforces the idea that my marriage sucks. It reinforces the idea that I cannot accomplish this. I will never do this. I'm not good at this. You're constantly reinforcing it because you're running the wrong program. So you got to find a place of gratitude. A solid foundation in which you wake up every morning and you have something to be thankful for. Because see, gratitude in and of itself is the greatest mechanism of receiving things that you desire. See, gratitude says, I have something that I've already received, which automatically tells you that it's possible to receive good things. So you're in a state for receiving when you are grateful for what you have. Most people find it hard to be appreciative for what they already have, and therefore it makes it very difficult to get the things they want. When you complain, you move yourself to a lower frequency, a lower vibration, a lower energy level. And on that energy level, you limit what you're capable of doing and capable of receiving, and you lock yourself into a state you're not happy in and don't know how to get out of. But here's something else. We're talking about seeds, right? So I want to get into this. I want you to check this out. We're talking about seeds. See, now your thoughts are your seeds. And so you need the right seed, but you also need the right ground. You need the right soil to plant the seed in. One thing, you got some people who got great seeds and they got poor soil. They don't have the right place to plant in. What's your soil? Your soil is your environment. Your soil is the place around you that you're going to set your seed in. Your soil first begins in the mind. The things that you plant and allow in your mind. If you've got a lot of negativity going on, you can have a nice thought every now and then, and it's a good seed, but it can't survive because the weeds that you allow to accumulate in your mind is sucking the life out of you. So in that instance, what do? You got to say, okay, I gotta start clearing my mind. I gotta detoxify my mind. I gotta start reading books that encourage. I gotta start reading books that inspire. I gotta start reading books that instruct. I gotta start looking at and listening to videos that will empower me, that will give me what I don't know. I gotta start studying in my field. I got to start building and developing into the person I need to become in order to have the things I want, because I don't get what I want, I get what I become. So if I never become the person who's capable of having the things that I want, I'll never have them. You don't get it by wishing, you don't get it by wanting, you get it by becoming. So then you sit up and say, I got to plan it. But then after you move out of the environment of your mind, that's still soil. And what soil is that? The people you hang around, the people you allow around you. See, sometimes you plant your seeds in soil that does not have the capacity to supply the nutrients and the support and the depth necessary to set up the roots for you to sprout out the vision. Now, I've heard this analogy used before, where if you take a peach seed, it can be a healthy peach seed, but if you try to plant it in a cup of soil, it will never take root and sprout up. It will never become a peach tree because the soil isn't fitting for its purpose. So you can have the right seed, the right idea, the right intent, but if you're constantly trying to plant in something that cannot support the vision, you will always find yourself frustrated. And there's a bunch of you trying to plant, trying to pour yourself into, trying to throw yourself into something that does not have the capacity to support what you're trying to do. You got something so big, you're trying to throw it into something so small, and it's frustrating you. You got to understand that not everybody can understand or facilitate or encourage your vision. Not everybody has the capacity to know where you're going. Not everybody is at the same place that you're at in your journey. Most people have been dictated and given an idea of what is. And anybody who steps outside of the boundaries and confinements of that idea challenges them in a way that makes them uncomfortable. It also looks foolish to them. It also makes no sense to them. But you got to ask yourself, of all of the ones who are following the protocol of average, the protocol of mediocrity, how many rise up out of that and do exceptional things? No, that protocol doesn't work in the world of phenomenal. It doesn't work in the world of extraordinary. It doesn't work in the world of exceptional. It doesn't work in being someone who is large and impactful. You got to step out of status quo. Step out of normal thinking, step out of what everybody else calls realistic, and move into an environment where you become the creator of your destiny by your capacity to think. The only thing that limits your capacity is your ability to imagine and to see clearly. The clearer the vision, the more set and focused you become, the more you can bring it into reality. Most people don't know how to step into their vision. No, most people don't understand. Most people don't even understand the concept of vision. See, the concept of vision is real simple. We make it real complex and esoteric, but the concept of vision and dreams are real simple. They are not separate from purpose. They are the reflection and image of purpose. They are what you look at to see how your purpose looks worked out over time. Your vision is an image of the blueprint of you living in your assignment and purpose on this planet. It is not separate from your responsibility. It is your responsibility in image. You were not put on this planet. You were not created by whatever faith you stand on. If you believe that you have purpose, your purpose is not to sit here, okay, I'm going to get all this stuff done first, and then I'm going to do this, because this is my purpose. You were set here, and every day you're either working in your purpose or you're not. And when you're not working in your purpose, you're accountable to the Creator who gave you the purpose on why you're not. And no excuse is acceptable. I don't have the resources. Things are tight right now. I don't have the time. Nobody believes in me. All of these things are simple excuses because, see, it was your vision, it's your purpose, it's given to you. Nobody has to validate that. Nobody has to co-sign it. Nobody has to give it to you. It was given to you. And the thing is, what you will find is more people will start to believe in you after you start to believe in you. After you become firmly planted in soil that will cultivate you, that starts with believing in yourself. Then you got to start weeding out the soil. You got to start looking at people who are professional dream killers. People who have made a career out of telling people why they can't do something. You got to weed those people out. And it's hard sometimes because sometimes it's mama, sometimes it's daddy, sometimes it's sister and brother, sometimes it's the best friend you grew up with. But you've got to weed out the dream killer. You got to weed out the minimal-minded people who love to whisper the sweet nothings of negativity in your ear. Man, you know how many businesses fail in the first 3 to 5 years? Man, you know how much capital you're going to need? Man, do you understand that this happens? And then don't let race play a factor. Man, the system won't allow you to do this, bro. You got to do this. And my thing is God. If you're a believer in a supreme being, God, however you refer to him, the ultimate intelligence and ultimate consciousness of the universe, you believe in that, then you've got to understand that God, the universe, life, however you want to call it, will never meet you at anything higher than what you expect. God always meets you at the level of your expectations. If you're expecting bad things will happen. The entire universe is created on these principles, or keys, that sit up and dictate, when you do this, you get this. When you think negative, you produce negative. When you think negative, you talk negative. You talk negative, you act negative. You act negative, you produce negative results. Change your paradigm, shift your thinking, decide that while in every situation that's something I can find that's wrong, even in the best situation that's something that's wrong. Now, on the flip side of that, on every situation, no matter how bad, I can find something that's good. I can focus on the good thing. There's a study that happened at MIT some years ago. And what they found is that you have two major groups when it comes to the viewing of life. You have optimists and you have pessimists. Now, the funny thing was, when they studied the optimists and the pessimists, they found that the pessimist was extremely accurate when assessing a situation. Most of the time, sometimes they saw things worse than they were, but most of the time they were a lot more accurate in assessing what they were dealing with than the optimist. The optimist always saw things way better than it really was. So you would say, look at the pessimist, say they are realists. They see the facts, they assess the facts, and they call it what it is. But here's the thing. In the 20-year study, the optimists outperformed the pessimists by something like 75%. So the optimists actually produced what they were seeing, even though it didn't resist at the time. That's the power of your mind. If you choose to see things in a better light, you produce what you see, not what you're in. Refuse to be a failure. Refuse to receive the negative report of people who are coming to you and telling you you don't have what it takes. Refuse to receive the assessment that you're not smart enough, that you're not big enough, that you're not rich enough, that you don't have the resources to get it done. Refuse to believe that because you come from a background of a broken home, or you come from a background of poverty, or you come from a background of uneducated people, that you can't produce, because the education is in process, not in a schoolroom. You got to learn how to fill your mind with the things that you need in order to do the things you want to do. I'm trying to get you to understand something, that failure is going to be a decision you make some point in life, whether you're going to accept what other people give you, or you're going to create something that you know is worthwhile having, and you're not going to stop until you get it. Notice I said create. One thing that we do is we rob our kids of their imagination and creativity. Then we give them what we think they should be doing after we shut down their ability to create their own path. From the ages of birth to around 5 to 7, kids are in this state that we call theta. Theta is a state in which I am not doing as much active conscious thinking as I am observing and taking in and imagining things. Now, in the sense of imagining things, they're creating, because they can become very creative. We all as kids played games, and we didn't have nothing we said we had, but we had the whole thing in our mind. We used sticks as guns. We used broomsticks as horses. We had little sisters who played. He had tea parties and made mud pies and served them up, and we pretended to eat them, and we enjoyed ourselves, and we lived in a world that didn't exist in our community because we had imagination. But somewhere along the age of 5, entering into kindergarten, we start to get it pulled out of us. Get your head out of the clouds. Stop daydreaming. Stop wishing for that. That's too big. You're not good enough to do that. You can't read well enough for that. You're not good at math to be able to do that. You don't know how to do this. You're probably going to be better at doing this. You start getting an assessment, an assignment, and an opinion that starts to create a new reality for you. But see, when you're in that state of theta, you're learning. And this is what I want to tell you. Stop robbing your kids of their imagination, because in that state, there are two things that are taking place. Your imagination is going full speed. You're creating things that don't exist. You're acting the way you should act. And the reason kids at that age are able to do that, first and foremost, they are new to this realm, but they're not new to life and energy. They're new to this realm, but they represent a consciousness that always existed, always exists, and always will exist. And so they are actually functioning the way they should function. They haven't yet been affected by the environment. They haven't yet been affected by someone telling them what they have to do. What they are doing now is what they have inside of them, and each one has something unique inside of them. I was telling those that know me know I work with challenged kids. I work with challenged adults, but I have a client right now that I absolutely love. He's call him a friend. He has literally created an app on an international level. He's pulled people in. This guy has Asperger's, which is a high spectrum, a form of autism, and a young black guy. And he is doing unbelievable things. And he calls me, or inboxes me or texts me on a regular basis to tell me what's going on. The dude is now communicating with the founder and creator of LinkedIn. This is the autism. So what I want to get you to understand is everybody I've met, whether they had Down syndrome, autism, I knew a kid who she was born with autism, young girl, born with autism, who is now actually a model. I mean, the idea of limitations is something man puts on you. See, I'm just like, when I think about possibilities, I get excited because there are no limitations. We create the limitations with our beliefs. The only limitations you have in your life of doing anything you want to do, regardless of how old you are, regardless of the background you came from, regardless of everything you're facing right now, is your beliefs, how you're thinking. If you accept the limitation, it becomes a reality. If you sit up and say, I can't do that because, well, you won't be able to do it because of that. Because your mind is the most powerful force on this planet. If you say it can be, it can be. If you say it can't, it won't. And that's how you got to start looking at things. Stop looking at where you're at. Stop looking at the consciousness of where you're at. Stop looking at the current condition, is what I mean, of where you're at. That's a moment in time. That's a bleep in time. That's temporary until you decide to live in it. Then it becomes permanent. What you've got to do is make up in your mind that you are going to be whatever it is you desire, and that nothing's going to stop you. People say, man, how do you get where you want to? See, everybody has a psychology. And this psychology can be defined in one word. If your psychology can be defined in one word, you haven't really examined yourself. You haven't looked at yourself introspectively. You haven't become acquainted with who you are. But when you become acquainted with who you are, your personality and your philosophy about life will have one word. Evan Carmichael wrote the book, One Word, that really explains this and breaks this down. But that's one word. When you can define your entire psychology about how you're going to approach life in one word, it'll tell you the best way to deal with situations. See, if you listen to me talk, you can actually see my one word. By the way I talk, by the way I teach, by the way I explain how I've dealt with things, how I've gotten through things, my one word is relentless. It doesn't mean that I don't have a lot of other things I do, but if I've got to break down and I've got to hang on one thing to get through anything, it's relentless. It means I don't quit and I don't back up. Now, some people's one word is love. Some people's one word is compassion. Some people's one word is faith. Some people's one word is strategic. But whatever your word is, that's going to define where your strength is and how you approach things. Some people are problem solvers, so strategic planning is it. So you're a strategist. So your one word is strategic. And you got to know what your one word is. And when you discover what your one word is, it makes it easier for you to go into things and do things and handle things. You've got to be in a situation where you know who you are. Most people don't. Most people are living based on an assessment of someone else. Our entire reality is based on the opinion of another person. Somebody told us this is how life is, and we accepted it. Somebody told us that you'll never be able to do that, and we accepted it. Somebody stood up and said, only these type of people can do this, and so we accepted. Some people said, you're either successful or you're not. Some people are built for success, some people are not, and we accepted it. If you're poor, you're always going to be poor. We accepted it. If you don't have a father in the home, you're going to prison. We accepted it. You create your reality by what you demand of yourself and what you believe of yourself. You determine that. Nobody else can determine that but you. So the question is, what are you doing? Are you planting in soil that has the capacity to give root to what you're trying to do? Or are you throwing some real big stuff into small cups, expecting it to take root? You can't plant an acorn in a teacup. I don't care how rich the soil is. I don't care how much you fertilize it. It doesn't have the depth to provide what it needs for the roots to spring out, for the tree to set up and grow up. It'll start out and it'll die. A lot of your dreams are dying because you're trying to plant in unfertile or unsupportive soil. It's not big enough. Stop trying to pour your dream out on somebody who doesn't have the capacity to facilitate it. You're wasting your time. There's somebody out there, I don't care who you are, where you at, where you from. There's somebody out there right now that if you believe enough in yourself and you just start taking the steps, will come in and partner with you. There's somebody out there right now that will see you doing what you're doing, just like my buddy George that I'm telling you about, George Lincoln, the guy who has Asperger's that's just setting the world on blaze right now. I think he's moved from Laos to South Korea, but he's from America, black brother. And he's going, I mean, everything that people would have said he could never do on his own, he's doing. And highly functional. But that wasn't what he was told when he was diagnosed. I've worked with other kids. That's not what they're told when they're diagnosed. You'll be, the best you will be able to expect is. No, see, there's a dream and a vision inside of everyone, and you can't tell me that this person is limited to just barely getting by in the system and being given medial responsibilities. I'm not saying that that's not a place to start, but I'm saying you got to teach the kid to dream. I even, in my research, came across research where it's believed that autism, especially like high spectrum autism like Asperger's, where there's this great centralized focus where almost every kid with Asperger's has this one thing that they can focus on and they become very good at. Some are great musicians, some are great artists, some are great with technology, but they get this focus like you, and they find it on their own. You just observe them and you sit up and you support them. When they reach for something, you don't tell them, no, we're not doing that right now. You let them find themselves. That's what we do to kids. We shrink them. We don't let them do what they naturally want to do. We tell them what they're going to do, and that's not serving their genius. So they end up growing up with this skill set that doesn't serve their genius, that doesn't serve their purpose, that doesn't give them fulfillment. And we end up with this high depression rate, this high suicide rate, this high frustration rate, violence, and a lot of other things that are associated with draining the brain. You're literally traumatizing the brain. Listen to me when I tell you this. This is not some philosophy. This is science. When you're not living in your purpose, when you're not living at the height of what you're capable of, the chemical imbalance that's created by the frustration in that is literally damaging your brain and making you less and less and less effective at what you need to do. That's science. That's the science of neurology and neurology and psychology and how it comes together. And we have so many people doing things that they don't understand, that don't make sense. And it's because we've allowed our brains to become damaged because we're not using them for what they were given to us to use for. So Look, I'm gonna get off of here. I've kept you enough. We're moving up on 30 minutes. That's long enough. I'm gonna get off of here. But I want to encourage you. If you haven't decided what you're gonna do in life, it's not too late. You need to determine because every second that you have on this earth has purpose. 86,400 seconds every day is given to you. Some will be used sleeping, some will be used studying, some will be used working, some will be used engaging in loving and in caring for family, but it should all have a purpose. Even when I sleep, that sleep has a purpose. Matter of fact, the sleep that I get is one of the most important things that I do because that's where the brain recovers. That's where it restores. That's where it rejuvenates. That's where the body rejuvenates. And so rest is important, you know. And I'm a grinder. I'm up early in the morning, but I had to find a way to provide true healing. And I can't do that with minimal rest. Now, there are times that you got to get out there and get it. And so for a certain period of time, I call them hell weeks. For a certain period of time, it's a hell week. I'm going to get out there and I'm going for it. And it's going to be minimal sleep, but the job's got to get done. But I also understand that that can't be every day, every year, I'm actually hurting myself physically. I have to understand that I need to recuperate. I need to regenerate. I need to pour back into myself. So I do meditation. I do prayer. I do what it takes. Now, my prayer isn't like most people's prayer because I'm not dealing with things on that level. But it's a part of the meditation process. And it's a part of reminding myself that there are no limits, reminding myself that I have so much to be grateful for, reminding myself that if I set my mind to it, I can create it. The beautiful thing is there are things that don't exist that I'm going to create. And that's the beauty of the thing is that you're not stuck with something that somebody else gave you. If it's not fulfilling you, create the thing that'll fulfill you, that'll answer the questions and solve the problems that people have. And you'll set your stage in life and you will be impactful. You will build a legacy. It's about being an impact. It's so much bigger than you. With that being said, look, I'm going to get off of here. Like I said, if you have not gotten Critical Mass, get this book. No, it's not the same as working with me because there's something that the book can't hear you and respond. The book can't plan out specific and customized strategies. The book can't help you peel back the layers of trauma. But what it can do is it can point you in the direction of understanding why you do some of the things you do, why certain things aren't working for you, why you can do and how you can do this. It can give you an understanding that'll give you a little bit more clarity and bring you out of the fog. The book is by far the most comprehensive book I've written, and that's saying a lot, being that book number 19 was Born in Captivity, Psychopathology of the Legacy of Slavery, which was pretty comprehensive. But again, there's 23 chapters and they're loaded. If you haven't gotten it, go get this. With that being said, look, I'm gonna die on E. I'm gonna live my life on full every day, and I hope a minimum of 100 years on this earth, and I'm gonna live it in full. I don't have a retirement date. I don't plan on retiring. I plan on putting in work until I leave this place. That's what happens when you work in your passion. You're not thinking about a retirement date. Now you have a time set that if things go bad, you want to be set. If things go bad, if your health goes bad, if you have to stop working to take care of a relative or whatever, you want to be set. You want to have your financial situation in order. But if you're really truly working in your passion, you know, look at Warren Buffett, pushing 90, ain't thinking about quitting because he's working in his passion. And I know so many people that you talk to them about retirement, huh? You know, no, I mean, I'm just getting started. And the other thing is, when you decide that you're not going to retire and you keep your mind engaged at a high level when you start to move towards your 60s, you reduce the chance. Now, if you keep engaged, period, your entire life, the more you work your body, I mean, your brain, the more you learn every day, the less chance you have of developing dementia and Alzheimer's. So where Alzheimer's starts to set in as a general rule is when you start to experience reduced activity. And there are a lot of other things that come along with it, diet, environment, things of that nature that we're still unraveling. But the one thing we know for sure with scientific specificity is that if you keep your mind engaged, keep it learning, keep it challenged, stop taking the easy road on the thought train, you reduce your risk of Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia drastically. So with that being said, look, I got to get off of here. Those of you who follow me on my YouTube channel, You don't want to miss it if you can get over there at noon today, Central Standard Time. My wife and I are going to be doing a dual session on childhood sexual abuse and trauma and what it does and how it carries over into adult life and the facilitation of dysfunctionality and how we deal with it, how we heal. That's coming at noon today, Central Standard Time. You don't want to miss it. If you don't have my channel, just go onto YouTube and put in Rick Wallace, Ph.D., and it'll come up. You've got to check it out. I'm so proud of her and the things she's done. When I first met my wife, she was a client of mine. She came to me for counseling. She is a childhood sexual abuse survivor. She was molested at 5 and raped at 14. And she had to go through a lot to get through that because that trauma is extensive. And I worked with her. We went our separate ways. She wrote a book called Ghetto's Forgotten Daughters. She's working with kids at the TYC, Texas Youth Commission, who have gotten caught up because most of these girls who are caught up in the system were abused in the home, predominantly in sexual ways and some in physical ways. She's also working with the Aldine School District and working with at-risk kids at the school, and that she has a contract with them through next year. So she's doing some extraordinary thing. I'm extremely proud of her. And so we're going to get on and we're going to talk about this, you know, from an experiential perspective, from a scientific perspective, from a projective perspective of what needs to be done. And we're going to make we're going to make some things happen in the community. We are definitely going to be working together moving forward. We will also be participating in a mental health conference in February in Florida. I'll get you the details on that, which I'm excited about. But look, whatever you do, live your life on full so that you die on E. Don't leave anything left undone because you weren't committed enough to do it. With that being said, I'm out of here. You have an awesome day.